to sound. Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. So I know that I'm a little bit late to the party, but I still wanted to try it out. This is Dragon Age, the Veilguard. We are below the minimum requirements in here. The game specifies that you need a minimum of 6 GB of VRAM, but still I decided to try it out on my GTX 1650 Super. So I'm starting off with 1080p, no dynamic resolution, which comes enabled by default, using FSR on its quality mode and using the low preset. And as you can see, the game already claims that we are above the VRAM. So VRAM usage is at 87%, but 0.6 gigabytes it is reserved for the operating system, and we are a little bit above of that. Still, I didn't encounter any performance issue with the low settings, and let me tell you, Dragon Age, Veilguard, wherever about the talk about the inclusion and all the story and I mean the chat looks like written by a 5-year-old kid. Whatever all of those aspects of the game, I'm here for the technical part of the game, and let me tell you that I haven't seen an optimized game like this for a long time. There is absolutely no stutters at all. CPU usage, it is a little bit high during the city though. It's impossible to maintain 60 frames per second during the early moments of the city with an Ryzen 5 3600 or the 3600X. It's not possible, it's dropping whatever the GPU you throw at it. But still, let me tell you that the game is very well optimized. Even this is, I mean, this is the low settings. It does looks really good. There is some obvious downgrades that I can notice, especially comparing for the eye settings. We lose one of the most and better effects inside the game, which is the air stranded effect, and you can only enable when you put the lighting at the eye setting, but the lighting at the eye setting is quite demanding, and the GTX 1650 Super doesn't seem to handle it very well. But the low settings, it just performs great. Unfortunately, even with FSR on its quality mode, it's not possible to sustain those 60 frames per second, whatever if you are on the UDs, or whatever if you are in the city. The GTX 1650 Super can't really handle those 60 frames per second, but it can deliver a 60 frames per second experience most of the time, in case you are asking. So that's actually pretty good. This is the early moments of the game during the city. This is just the prologue, alright? And we are inside environments, and you can see that the game, it is actually delivering performance above 60. Although when we move on to a more forest-like area, performance is a little bit different. Alright, so let me just quick save in here. I want to use this moment for the other pass. And as you can see, we are getting 50 frames per second, 48, so there is a possibility of dropping to something like 40. So it's not really possible to have a sustainable 60 frames per second, even at the low settings, even using FSR on its quality mode. But still, it does look really good. I mean, we are still having ambient occlusion. There is also some obvious pop-in, but still, we have shadows. We don't have screen space reflections, but to be honest, the usage in between the low to medium, for example, it's just really bad. I mean, screen space reflections in this game, it is bad. We still have volumetric effects. This is low textures, so it doesn't really look that bad if you ask me. It does look good. Although let's move on to median settings using textures on low, because VRAM, just for you to have an idea how it performs. So 1080p, I still use FSR in its quality mode. I have the median settings, the median preset, but I just reduced the texture quality to low because of VRAM, and as you can see, we are using 3.5 out of 3.8, but remember, 600 megabytes is reserved for the operating system, so we are above what it is recommended for you to have, so we are overflowing the VRAM in here. And still, Performance doesn't look that much different from the bow settings, and to be honest, visuals neither. I mean, visuals are quite similar to the bow settings, and yes, we are having a frame rate of lower than 60 more often. I can see some extra effects like when we get very close to the monsters or when the monsters appear, it seems that the effects are different somewhat. It seems that there is more distortion. I might be imagining it, but there is. It seems to be like a hazy depth of field when the monsters appear or when we get very close to it. There is some heat haze effect going on, which I don't remember to see it on the wall settings, but it might just be my imagination over here. So even with screen space reflections, I'm not really seeing too much of a difference in the water. So yeah, visuals wise, it looks very similar to the wall settings, while there is definitely some penalty. Of course, interiors, it seems to be running above 60. Still, it seems more easier to drop below of that. Yeah, I was getting like 80 frames per second, 70 frames per second. And in here I'm just having like barely having 60. But let's check the forests. Oh boy. Yeah, performance is much worse on the forest while using the median settings. This can be also VRAM issue, because when we are overflowing the VRAM using the X12 or Vulkan, instead of having stuttering, the games tend to drop frames to lower values than it is normal. But still, I mean, it looks to have much more grass and volumetric density, so this might justify the drop in performance to the lower 30s. Alright. It doesn't seem to drop below 30 though, but I mean, it's a little bit risky. So in case you want to play Dragon Age the Veilguard on the GTX 1650 Super, for about 1 hour that I did play, I didn't encounter any VRAM issues, despite the game said that you need to have 6 gigabytes of minimum. I tried to lock the game at 30 frames per second using a VSync at off rate, since I have a 60Hz screen, and let me tell you that the implementation is awesomely good. So those 30 frames per second are like console 30 frames per second. They are very, very smooth. And whatever the settings you will play, I mean, the difference in between low settings to median, they are very, very small. FSR on this game is also not that bad, as long as you are not looking for the character's hair and stuff like that. During regular gameplay, not cutscenes. Cutscenes looks to be okay. But I mean, the game looks pretty good. Just don't expect to have a 60 frames per second locked in this game with FSR on its quality mode, whatever if you go with low or medium. But apart from that, I think the game just runs really well, and if you want to play with a locked 30 frames per second, the bow settings definitely will guarantee you that even in the most demanding moments, when there is a ton of effects on screen, when there is a ton of enemies or very demanding cutscenes, it will guarantee that. So for me it seems playable, but still we are below the minimum requirements, so be careful with that. So I think that's all that I want to talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard on the GTX 1650 Super. Hope you did enjoy the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.